Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are going to be drafting, cutting and sewing a wrap top. So we are going to start from drafting it on the paper and also transferring the pattern to the fabric to make sure that we get accurate crop top. So this is the material or the fabric that we are going to be using for this tutorial, and here we have our chalk, our pattern paper, our pencil, eraser, tape, a stretch rule, more importantly a curve rule. Is very important to have a curve rule when making your crop top, and also a pair of scissors. So if this is your first time of seeing this video or coming across my channel, please make sure you subscribe, give me a big thumbs up, then drop your comments down below if you have any question. So first, all you need to do is to start marking out your starting line. So you're going to start from this point. So remember that I normally use 1 inch as my starting line. 1 inch as my starting line. So you connect the lines like so. Make sure that the line is enough for your front and your back panel as well. So after marking it out, if you have your basic body ready, you can as well trace it out, then cut it out, do whatever you want to do. Then all this, so this video is perfect for both beginners, advanced, and intermediate. So we are going to be putting all our measurements here, all the height measurements. The bust, shoulder to bust is 10.5. So you're going to be using 10.5 here. You're going to be using 10.5 here as well. So the full length for this top is going to, we're going to measure our waist, which is 18. So we are going to add ½ inch to the 18. So we are going to use our waistline, which is 18, and then add ½ inch for seam allowance. So we are going to connect the line like so. So we are going to connect our 18 inches line as well. So we are going to connect our ½ inch line as well. So once we have connected the lines like so, the next step that we have to take is to start adding our round measurement. So firstly, we are going to be adding our neck measurement. We are going to be using the standard, which is 3 by 3 for the front panel. So I'm going to show you guys how to use your front panel to achieve your front and back panel. So we are going to add our round shoulder is going to be 7.5. So from this 7.5 on the round shoulder, we are going to come down by ½ inch, which is here. So we are going to connect the neckline, which is 3 by 3. So from this point to this point, and from this to this point as well. So this ½ inch is going to be from this neckline to that ½ inch, and this is what we call shoulder slope. So from this shoulder slope, we are going to measure our armhole. So normally I use 8.5, or you can use 9 inches for your armhole. So let's make our armhole to be 9 inches. So since we have marked out our 9 inches, we are going to connect from this 7.5 all the way down to this 9 inches that we marked out, and we are going to extend this. We are going to extend it to this. So since we have connected our armhole, the next step is for us to start our nipple to nipple measurement is, I'm going to be using 3.75. So I'm going to mark out 3.75 here, and I'm also going to mark out 3.75 here, and I will connect the lines. So I'm going to connect the lines like so. So from this 3.75, I'm going to go by 1.5 inches here, and I'm going to go by half inches here. And I'll also come down by, I'm going to come down by 1 inch so that it will give my bust balance. So I'm going to go like so, and I'm also going to go like so. So once I'm done here, the next step for me to do is to add my waist measurement. So I will be going, my waist is 8. So this is 3.25. So I'm going to continue with 3.25 and mark out my 8. So my bust is round bust is my round bust is 38. So we are going to divide 38 by 4. So all your round measurements, you are dividing it by 4. So 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. So I'm going to place my tape and mark out my 9.5. Remember your armhole. So if you don't have your armhole rule or ruler, you can as well use any French curve of your choice. Use any French curve of your choice. So from here now, you can see that we are now ready for this. So this is my front panel. So since I'm going to use this front panel for front and back, all I have to do is to add my neck measurements to this, which is half an inch. So, and I'm also going to curve it out. So once I have curved everything out, I now have my front and my back panel together. So the only difference with this is that this is going, the neckline of the back is going to be a little bit down. The neckline of the front is going to be a little bit down, while the back will be up. So remember, we didn't add any seam allowances to this, our basic measurements. The only allowance that we added is on this 18 inches in length. So this is what we have for our basic body measurements. So the next step, if you want to construct your wrap top, so all you have to do is to fold this into 2. Or if you don't want it, you will fold this into 2 definitely. Make sure that you pin and that everything that all the edges are equal. So once you have gotten everything all pinned down, please remember that the back that is going to be half inches by half inches. So remember not to make that kind of mistake. So this half inches by half inches, we are going to measure the remaining, then 1 inch, and we are going to subtract it from here, and we are going to demarcate the lines by using a dotted line. So once we are done, all I have to do is to cut it out. So you trace out. This will enable this is very important to trace all your lines, or the lines that you will be needing for this. If you want to trace the front panel, you trace them out. If you want to trace the back panel, you trace them out as well, so that you will know which one you are remaking. So for this, I am tracing out the front panel. So once I'm done, I'm going to unpin them. Once I am done unpinning, so I'm going to open this as well. I'm going to go back to making sure that I have the lines perfect, that I have all the lines that I traced out. So you can see here, you can see all the lines here. So if you make mistake, you can as well clean it up and make sure you have the perfect line. Make sure you have the perfect line. So I'm going to repeat this on this side as well. So once I'm done, I'm going to also connect my lines here as well. So my neckline, I'm going to connect as well. So once I have connected, I'm going to connect the center line. So this is what I have here, and this is where all the work starts. So from here, this is the bust point, or the bust center. So you are going to check if you don't want it to be open, if you want it to be too wide. So this is where all this comes into play. So I don't want mine to be all that open, and I don't want it to be too exposing. So at this center, just come down by your neckline by 4 or by 3.5. Remember that your neckline is 3. You can see here your neckline is 3. So you come down from this 3 on your neckline, you come down by 3.5. So make sure that your curve rule is placing it as well, and also that you are on that 3.5 inches, so that you will not make mistake. You can as well, before doing any other thing, you can make it to be a dotted line. Then if you are okay with this line, then you are good to go. Remember that this crosses over to this point, and also that this is going to have an extension belt. So if you are okay with it, if you are okay with all this, you can cut. But if you are not okay with it, if you think that it is too exposing, then from this point you can as well adjust it to this, but I don't think that this will go. So we are going to clean this second line and make sure that we have something like a curve here, so that, yeah, perfect, so that we have a curve at the end. It will not be too slanty, and here will not be too kind of exposing. So once you are done, you trim out. If you don't want to add extension belt, add your seam allowances and you are good to go. So once we are done with this is our first pattern that we make. So we are going to do a little adjustment by tracing out the excess allowances and also cutting our neckline. So this now becomes our back panel. So we are going to clean up this line. We are also going to clean up this line. So this becomes our back panel, while this becomes our front panel. We are done with the drafting. Now it's left for us to place our pattern on the fabric, and we can start cutting it out. From this point, if you face it like this, we are not going to have enough fabric to work with. So we are going to be doing this like so. So we are going to be cutting it out like so. We are going to be adding all the seam allowances. We are not needing any seam allowances here because we have added it. So where we are needing seam allowances is just up here and also at the two sides. So since we are done, we are going to start pinning them together. Remember that you are going to fold. Folding is very, very important. That this is going to be on fold. And also know the inches of allowance that you are going to leave on this side, and also you are going to add on this side as well. So you measure here. We have 2 inches on this side. So you are going to add half inch on this. So you're going to be adding half inch. So remember to add your half inch on all the places that you didn't add any seam allowance to. So on this side, you add your 2 inches as well. So I'm going to show you guys how to balance it when you are good to start joining them together. So once you are done, you start trimming them out. Cut out, we now have the left and the right side of this front panel. So we are going to fold. And here I don't want it to be a 2-piece back, so I'm going to use unfold method. Then I'm going to pin. Pinning is very important so that you will not make mistake and there will be no space when you are cutting. Then you add your allowances. This is very important. Add the exact allowance that you added on the front, also at the back as well. So you add your half inch here as well. Then add your half inch here as well. Then add your half inch. Then once you are done adding all your seam allowances, you can now cut them out. Please don't drag your fabric when you are cutting. Important to trace them out. So once you are done, we have this and we have this. Remember that we still have an extension. So since we added allowance, this is our front panel and this is our back. So we are going to remove the patterns and keep it for future use. So since we have removed the pattern, now we decide if we want. Remember that you added your seam allowances. So I made a mistake. So I'm going to, please, this is very important. Note. Remember to mark, to knot the center. Remember to knot the center. Very important. Then remember to knot the darts. Very, very important as well. The center and also the darts. So once you are done, you can remove your pattern. For the back, you can just measure it out and then. So here you decide if you are going to be using your bias to finish them out, or you are going to be using your lining. So I'm going to be using bias to finish this thing out. So how to cut out your belt extension? You measure here. This is you can use 4 inches for this. So 4 inches plus 4 inches, since we are going to be using bias, which is 8. So we are going to mark out 8 or 8.5. So you are going to be using 8.5 for this. Then I'm going to, yeah. Make sure that the length is 30 and above. The length of the belt, make sure that it is 30 and above. Make sure that the belt is 30 and above. It's very, very important. So you can measure the length of your belt, but make sure that it is above your waist line. So remember, I folded this into 2. So I have 36 and half. So 36. Okay, I have 35 and half, 35.5 plus 35.5. So I have 71 inches in length. So I'm going to divide this into 2 as well, because it will be for the left and for the right side. So once I have gotten the belt for the left and the right side, I'm going to use it to tie the top. So we are left with this big material. So, or this big fabric, we are going to make use of the remaining. So what we are going to do, we are going to be folding this into 2 just to make use of this remaining material that we have here. So once you are done, now is the time to cut out our sleeve. So we are going to be using this side as the armhole. So we have 12 inches as our armhole, so it's perfect for us to use. So we are going to measure 5 inches. So what you are going to do for the armhole is just to measure 5 inches and then connect the lines like so. Then divide, get our armhole, which is 8. So from this 8, we are just going to curve this like so. You're just going to curve it to make it look, but not all that pronounced for the armhole. Something like this, and then you are going to start cutting. So we are going to use the length of this because it's going to be 3 tired sleeve. So it's going to be a 3 tired sleeve. So this is how it's going to look like, and we are done. This is how the sleeve looks like. It's quite big, right? So it's now time to go to sewing machine and start sewing. I am changing the thread to match the fabric, and after doing so, I place my shoulder, my front and my back shoulder to match up and then pin them down. After pinning them, I repeated the same process on the other side. So after doing so, I attached my belt extension to the wrap side. I noticed that one part is longer than the other. I did my adjustment, pin, and then trim out the excesses that I have. So after doing so, I went ahead and stitched. I made sure that I started from the 2 shoulders when stitching to enable me to focus well on the wrap top. So after doing so, I trimmed out the excesses that I have. Then I went ahead to stitch the belt extension. So after doing so, I repeated the same process on the other side and checked the wrap top. Note that we used 2 inches for our seam allowance, but I am using 1.5, so that half inch is for ease. So I noticed here that I stitched up the upper armhole So I am reducing it by 1 inch to enable me fix my sleeve. So I repeated the same process on the other side as well. So here I'm attaching or stitching our darts on the back panel of the wrap top. So I'm using half inch for the dart. So on the front I am using 1 inch for the front so that my bust will balance well. So after sewing my darts, I went ahead for the sleeve. This is where the work is because the sleeve is super long. So what I did here was I used my machine to hold the fabric, then do my measurements on the fabric, cut out my elastic. I use 12 inches elastic, then I use the 10 inches elastic and 9 inches elastic because it's going to be 3 tired sleeve. Note that whatever you are cutting, cut into 2. So after I placed my measurements, the upper measurement is 9, the lower measurements from the hem up is 6, while the middle from the 6 to the middle is 10. So after doing so, I started attaching my elastic, dragging them to the end of the other side of the sleeve so that it will couple up and make the sleeve to look flawless. So after doing so, this is the second one that I'm attaching. So after attaching, I went ahead to stitch the hem of the sleeve, one of the sleeves, so that the work would not be tedious for me. So after stitching the hem, I went ahead to stitch the last of the elastic for one sleeve. So after doing this, I repeated the whole process of what I did to the former sleeve to the new one. So after doing so, I stitched, I attached my elastic, I do this, I trimmed out, I hem, I attached the last elastic, and that's it, guys. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up, drop your comments down below. I'll be waiting for you in the comment section. So after hemming, here is where I'm attaching the last elastic for the sleeves. I trimmed out the elastics. So after doing so, I went ahead to do my adjustment by making sure they are on equal side, pin them well, then making sure that everything is balanced. Then after pinning and making sure that everything is balanced, I went ahead to stitch from the end of the sleeve to the where I stopped stitching at the lower armhole. So please make sure that your pin are in function when doing so. So when joining the two sides, what I used is ½ inch for it because I want it to be kind of tight and big as well. So I want the sleeve to be big. So after doing so, I coupled everything all up on one side. So I am going to repeat the same process on the other side as well. So please make sure that your elastics are matching on both sides. Very, very important. After doing so, I picked up my bias, attached it. This is where the work is. Do you know that I stitched from one end to it's like sewing a kimono? You know the process of sewing a kimono. A kimono, what was it called? I don't know what it's called, but this is the hardest part of sewing a wrap top. So if you are using your interface, please. So I'm attaching our bias to the other side of the wrap top. I have done so for the down. I am repeating the same process on the upper side. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, drop your comment down below. So when doing so, I noticed that the bias will not be enough. I have to trim out the excesses or what is left out. So now I am going to fold the bias to have a neat finishing. This is where the work is. I have to fold, trim out the excesses, repeat the same process all over again, then finish the rough edges by folding inside on the two sides. So see you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye. Thank you for watching. I hope you like it. That's the end of the tutorial.